My name is Florence Selden. I'm from the League of Women Voters of the Cape Cod area, and I will be your moderator for this second Barnstable district. And we have our two candidates tonight for state representative. Currently, the representative Will Crocker, Republican, and Kip Diggs, Democrat. Briefly, the second Barnstable encompasses Barnstable, precincts 2 to 10, and Yarmouth, precincts 5 and 6. Start off. Both candidates have agreed to the format, which is that each of them will have a 2-minute opening statement. Then there will be questions, and they will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. If you complete the answer to the question before your 2 minutes run out, you may use it to discuss something else or respond to a previous question. And then there will be a 2-minute closing statement from each of you. And what we'll do is the opening statement will be alphabetically and reverse alphabetically. We have a C and a D, so for the closing statement. There is also a timekeeper, and there will be a 30-second sign and then a stop sign. And I will let you finish your sentence, but not your paragraph once that stop sign goes up. The questions have been submitted to the Cape Cod Young Professionals and to the League of Women Voters by interested citizens. So if you will unmute, Kip, if you unmute your microphone, that'll be good. You're muted. Unmute. Okay, great. Do you mind if I call you by your first names, or would you prefer?
Not at all.
Please call me Kip.
Okay, you can call me Florence.
Thanks, Florence.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Crocker for his opening statement.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Florence, and thank you all to the Cape Cod Young Professionals and the League of Women Voters for putting this forum together, and of course, Cape Cod Media Center. Now, I believe this election breaks down into experience. I've served in this position for 4 years now. I have the experience and the knowledge that it takes to do this job. That knowledge and experience was gained first as a town councilor and then as a state representative. And when I decided to run for this position back in 2016, I determined that one of my key issues would be constituent services. My first responsibility is to the people that I serve in the Second Barnstable District. I am the go-to person when constituents have a problem with the bureaucracy of state government. And that could be no more important now with the COVID virus. My office has received more than 350 voicemails, emails, and text messages since the breakout back in March. Many of them have had to do with the unemployment problems and still do to this very day. It's my responsibility to make sure that those problems are identified and rectified. Now, the ability to make that happen comes through years of working through the system, knowing who to call and who to follow up with, making sure that this is done to completion. And again, that's experience and that's knowledge, and that is key in this pandemic. Now, while all this is happening, I've continued to be responsive locally to my constituents. I've even held office hours outside the closed down Yarmouth Senior Center on the first Friday of the month, and we'll do so again tomorrow with a folding table, a laptop, and 2 chairs. I want to continue to help the people in Barnstable and Yarmouth at the State House, and obviously help them through this pandemic situation. Again, my name is Will Crocker, and I humbly ask for your votes on November the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Kip, you're next, and you have to unmute yourself. You're muted. That's
How's
it.
that? Okay.
And leave it, you may as well leave it unmuted.
I don't know how it changed. Okay, I'm sorry, but thank you, Florence. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here and join this forum. I thank you for the Women's League of Voters for hosting this event, particularly given the tough situation that we're in. Being in this campaign and being in the this COVID situation. wearing masks and going out voting. I mean, going out and talking to people. It's been very difficult, and people having to getting to know you. It's been very difficult. Oh God. I'm here because I'm not satisfied with what's going on. Our district needs help. There's a lot of things going on with the COVID, with the environment, with my seniors. I have an 89-year-old mother that I take care of. And, I'm worried about this COVID situation. So I got to make sure that she's right. And, I got a lot of friends of mine that their parents are okay now, but we got to make sure that's how they stay. And, I know the district. I know my youth. I'm a youth group advisor for the Barnstable, and I know what they need. I have a pulse of my community and my district, and my district needs someone that's a leader. I'm a world champion boxer. I started boxing at age 22, and I became a world champion. So even though I'm late in the game of doing something like this and I don't have the knowledge, I do have the coachability and I can be taught how to do things. And working with people is not something that's hard for me. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with our first question, which will go to you, Kip. Median income on Cape Cod is lower than our state's average, while the cost of living is higher. If elected, what tools would you employ to bring in year-round jobs and business development opportunities that pay a living wage for workers in our region?
That's a great question. Thank you, Florence. Well, we have the offshore wind project is coming, and there's going to be over 10,000 jobs, and it's going to last for over 10 years. But we don't have we don't have anybody to train yet. So we need that workforce. And that's so important. We have so many, excuse me, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time, so forgive me.
We understand.
So having, this wind project is so important to get going. Plus we have, I commend Barnstable. We have, they have a project of the sewer departments that's going to generate jobs in over 10 years. They have a 25-year program. So, I have friends of mine that work for the Postal Service and also work for the DPW that they commute from off Cape to come on Cape to work. That's unacceptable to me. That's unacceptable. And they're making nice money, but obviously not nice enough money to be able to afford a house here. We have to change that. I have a postal guy that works that has the same problem. He owns a house, but he's struggling paying the bills. That's unacceptable. He's a hard worker, but is still having problems paying bills. We have to come up with a better answer. And if you work with me, I'm gonna make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Will?
Well, I'm glad that Kippy brought up the Vineyard Wind Project, because one of my first victories as a freshman representative in the House of Representatives was shepherding the Vineyard Wind Project through the legislature, through the committees, and through the legislative process, and then on to the Senate, and eventually getting that piece of legislation signed by Governor Baker. And now that is going to provide over decades $30 million at least to the town of Barnstable for basic infrastructure and things that are their budgetary problems that they're going to be seeing now because of the fact that we're going to be having less money because of the COVID situation. So one of the things that I am very proud about is the fact that I was able to shepherd the Vineyard Wind Project through the legislative process. It was one of my first victories. But in terms of economic development and workforce development, I think we have to talk about housing first, because housing is how we get our communities to thrive, how we get people to come here and thrive here. The Housing Choice Initiative, which Governor Baker brought to the legislature about 1.5 years ago, is something that I support. It's another step forward by lowering thresholds for approval of projects from right now 2/3 down to a majority. Too many times projects fail and they just get shelved because they are failing to get the 2/3 majority that they need. I think the Cape needs to look at what the individual towns need to look at what they are doing with regard to housing, because that is our first step in getting our workforce developed.
Thank you. And Will, that leads really into the next question, which is on affordable housing. What have you done wherever whether you're in the state, in the Senate, in the legislature, or in your work done that have helped in the area of workforce and affordable housing? And if you're elected or re-elected, what would you do to develop more affordable housing on Cape Cod, especially for young families, working people, and older people also who want to downsize? And we start with you, Will.
Well, there's a very interesting study that I got a chance to read when I was a member of the Barnstable Town Council, and it had to do with senior citizens and students who are just getting out of college, and how they seem to like congregate housing. So one of the things that I would like to continue to work further on is to see if maybe towns and regions can develop these sort of congregate housing with the older members of our residents and some of our younger members. They seem to like this kind of congregate housing. So I think that that's something that we need to look at. One thing we need to do is allow the towns to loosen up their accessory dwelling units. Maybe a person has a 4-bedroom colonial with an in-law apartment attached, and maybe through the aging process now, doesn't necessarily need that house. Their children have moved on. They have families of their own. So let's kind of, instead of trying to raise the bridge, let's deflate the tires. We can have the person who owns that 4-bedroom colonial move into the in-law apartment and allow those people that we see every day coming over the bridge to move into that rental property, that 4-bedroom colonial, possibly with a rent-to-own agreement. We need to be able to attract people who are coming over the bridge for the jobs that they have here. We need to find affordable housing for them, and one of those ways is being able to loosen up the restrictions on the accessory dwellings. One thing we also need to look at is blighted properties. There are many properties out there that are just sitting vacant. Nothing is happening other than deterioration and vandalism. Towns should be able to look at maybe possibly purchasing, or private entities looking at purchasing those properties and developing them into affordable housing.
Thank you, Will. Kip?
Economy and jobs will drive housing accessibility. It's that simple. The economy, we need to have jobs. If we have jobs, because we have quite a few jobs that people are having problems with right now, being able to have a house, own a house. So the economy and jobs will drive the housing up, period. That's really all I have to say about that. Really, I mean, it's that simple. You know, if we have the jobs, then people are going to come here. People are going to love to live here. So we just need jobs, and we need jobs that can afford that, factory type, whatever. But we need some jobs that will come here that are sustainable. That's what we need.
Thank you. And now we'll start with you, Kip, on this question. What committees or boards community boards, have you served on currently or in the past that you feel has given you the experience you need for this position as state rep?
Really, I've been on one committee, and that's, to me, the most important committee, and that's the Barnstable Youth Committee. And because our youth is our future, and making them stronger is going to make us stronger. I have raised 3 beautiful children, and One of them, my daughter is a chemical engineer, and the other one's studying to be a veterinarian. And I had a son that passed away in a car accident. Someone got hit by someone drunk and on drugs. And I set up a committee for a youth, and I've raised quite a bit of money for all of Cape Cod to be able to a scholarship fund in my son's name. So leadership is not an issue for Kip Diggs. And this is what, I'm a fighter, and I'm willing to fight, because honestly, there hasn't been enough fighting going on for our district. And that's what I'm here to do. Being the father is the best education that I can honestly be and honestly have. Thank you.
Thank you. Will, do you want me to repeat the question I meant to ask before, or are you okay?
No, I'm all set with it.
Okay, thank you.
Let's start out with my experience in the Barnstable Town Council. When I was elected to the Barnstable Town Council, one of the things I was advocating for was the bringing back of the Roads Committee, because the Roads Committee had been dissolved by the Town Council, and I advocated for it. So this was a situation of be careful what you wish for, because you just may get it. When I was elected to the Barnstable Town Council, they put me on the Roads Committee, and the people who were on the Roads Committee at the time said, well, you're so up on reestablishing this committee, we're going to make you the chairman. So I sat for 4 years as chairman of the Barnstable Roads Committee, and I also sat on the Preservation Committee, one of my favorite committees, where we look at how the money from the Cape Cod Land Bank gets distributed through the town with regard to recreation projects, with regard to historic preservation. That was one of my favorite committees. I sat there as the town council liaison. And when I was elected to be state representative, I currently sit on the Mental Health, Substance Use, and Recovery Committee, where I am the ranking Republican. So I get a little bit more of some time with the chairman of the committee to be able to express my points of view as the ranking member of that committee. I also sit on the Labor and Workforce Development Committee and also the Housing Committee. I chose these committees because I felt that they are very important to the Second Barnstable District, the towns of Barnstable and Yarmouth. Again, workforce housing, housing, labor and development, and also with regard to the addiction issue. I think these are key issues here in Barnstable and Yarmouth, and that's why I chose those committees. So I guess that would be my answer.
Thank you. Our next question, and we start with you first, Will. How has COVID-19 shifted your priorities as a candidate in this race? And what more, excuse me, what issue or needs has jumped to the top of your list since the pandemic?
Well, I can tell you that my office has, as I said earlier, we probably looked at around 350 different cases of unemployment problems, people who have had their they've had their hours reduced, or they've been terminated, or they've been put on furlough, and they have come to our office to try and resolve their unemployment issues, because it was a difficult situation back in March and April, when people were getting laid off and trying to be able to get on the unemployment. So that's one of the things that my office does, is try to identify and rectify the problems with regard to things like unemployment. When we look back at where we were back in March and April, PPE was a major problem. One of the first things that I did as a state representative was to reach out to my community, particularly my first responders in the police departments and the fire departments, and ask them, do you guys have enough PPE? I was able to get PPE to the Yarmouth Police Department, to the Yarmouth Fire Department, and also to the Housing Assistance Corporation. These were people who reached out when I asked and said, we're having difficulty trying to get our personnel adequately protected. And I was able to get them some of that personal protective equipment. We, as the Cape Cod delegation, had a number of meetings to try and work out what we could do as a region as representatives regionally to help out our affected people in our communities. We had regular meetings with Cape Cod Healthcare and Mike Lauf, weekly meetings on what the status was as far as how they were treating COVID patients and how many people were in there and what this was doing to them financially. So we were pretty much kept up to date with regard to Cape Cod Healthcare. And one of the things that I did personally was something called the Restaurant Challenge.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop, Will.
Oh, okay.
You can pick up at another time. Kip,
Okay.
do you need the question repeated, or are you okay?
Yes, please.
The question is, how has COVID-19 shifted your priorities as a candidate in this race? And what issue or needs has jumped to the top of your list since the pandemic?
My mother, first and foremost, and then my friends' parents, because I graduated in '85, and the parents are getting older, so I care about all my buddies' parents. But also hearing our work, everybody, the fire, the hospital. I just got the SCIU, that union with thousands of healthcare providers. They're backing me now, so they know that how much I care, okay, and they know that I'm a fighter, and they believe in me, and I believe in them, and also the Hyannis Fire Department. They've also endorsed me, so I am here ready to and willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that we're covered, because we live on a tourist destination place. I don't care if you're coming over the bridge, the grass should be cut and we should be looking good. And when you're getting off the highways, the grass should be all shut. But also, we should make sure that we're no different than Vegas or Florida. We're supposed to be taken care of, and we're not. So I'm going to be here ready to make sure the PPE is steady, and maybe we're covered, because that's what my job will be, is to cover everybody, not just one, but everybody. And that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. And then we are going to start with you, Kip.
Mhm.
This question is, Cape Cod is seeing a tremendous need for leadership in environmental matters, from planning for future sea level rise to building long overdue wastewater structure to pollution to other things. If elected, how would you work to preserve and protect the natural environment of Cape Cod?
Well, we have to stop the nitric loading. We need more technology. I'll work with all the officials to make sure that we have it in all those areas. I will work with Julian Sear in his leadership and get me up to speed with whatever I've missed. But I know that work is not a problem for me. I love to work, and I love to make sure that everyone's taken care of. I was very sad this summer that for the first time we had to boil water before we could drink it this summer. I don't know what happened, but leadership, to me, something was missed. So that's unacceptable. So we have to make sure that that gets taken care of. And somebody like me that's going to be on everything. I'm going to have my head on a swivel like I'm playing football, making sure that everything's getting taken care of. And I'm going to be transparent, and you're going to know everything that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Will, do you need the question repeated?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Let's go back to what Kip was talking about earlier this year, when the Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills Fire Water District had a boil water order. There was because of an E. coli test, and I was working very closely with the Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills Fire Department on that on a daily basis, meeting with them, asking about when their next tests were going to be, when the next test, what were the results of the next test. So we stayed in contact with the Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills Water District on that. And luckily enough, the boil water order was rescinded after about 48 hours due to a questionable E. coli test. Now, in terms of what we need to do, we need to work on wastewater. And I will also continue to work with the members of the Cape Cod delegation, and particularly my colleague, Tim Wayland, who we represent and share the town of Yarmouth, with the Yarmouth Harwich Dennis Wastewater Committee, Wastewater Commission, to try and come up with a regional solution to wastewater problems, because Yarmouth obviously is one of the communities that I represent. And we also need to look at some out of the box interesting ways to take care of our own private septic system. George Hoyfelder has a septic system that uses activated charcoal and wood chips in place of our basic septic systems and our cesspools and our leaching fields. And I think it's something that we need to look at and research further, because as septic systems fail here on the Cape, we will need to be replacing them. Sewering all of Cape Cod is going to be a very difficult matter. And I think we could look at something like George Hoyfelder's wood chip model to be able to take care of some of the individual septic systems that are failing.
Thank you. And we've now reached the end and ready for closing statements. And so we will start that with you, Kip.
I would like to thank the community for having this event. This is awesome, and everyone getting to know me and understand what I'm thinking. I would like to thank the first responders for taking care of us in this difficult situation and really just working with us. I would like to thank the Hyannis Fire Department for endorsing me. I'd like to thank the SEIU local union for endorsing me, and I look forward to working with all the healthcare workers and everybody in this town and in this district. That I'm coming here to work for you guys. We're as strong as our weakest player or weakest person, so we got to make everybody strong. And that means housing, homeless, housing, all of that. We all have to work together. I'm willing to teach them how to fish, not just feed them. I'm going to work with everybody. I want to work with my youth to make them stronger, better, and become leaders like I'm trying to do. So with your help, I'll get your vote. Thank you. Have a blessed night.
Thank you, Kip. Will?
All right. Well, once again, thank you, Florence. Thank you to the Cape Cod Young Professionals. Thank you to the other members of the League of Women Voters, Cape Cod Media Center. Well, I think it's rather obvious that Cape Cod faces a growing number of challenges to our economic stability. And now we can tack on things like the coronavirus, sharks, tornadoes, and sea level rise. But we do have some things that are working in our favor. We have a vibrant core of young professionals who are determined to make their success here on Cape Cod. Now, I'm sure it's not been a very easy task, but the Cape Cod Young Professionals have taken it on, and well, bravo for you for doing that. The Cape has other challenges as well, but there are some things that we do have some control over. Again, I want to stress housing. Housing seems to be one of the key challenges. As I stated in the past, we need to come up with sustainable housing, housing that will attract families here and keep them here generation after generation. As I said earlier, I support the governor's housing choice initiative. Far too many times, great projects have been relegated to the bookshelves because they just couldn't get the necessary votes. We need to pass the governor's fair housing initiative. Other challenges are seeing some improvements. The rates of addiction hospitalizations are down significantly. The Cape used to be a hotspot for addictions, but now progress is being made there. And civic engagement is now thriving, thanks in large part to the Cape Cod Young Professionals. You're getting involved and you're getting others involved, and that is something great. So in conclusion, I want to say thank you again to Florence, members of the CCYP and Cape Media for hosting and having this event. And I ask for your vote on November the 3rd.
And on behalf of the Cape Cod Young Professionals and the League of Women Voters of the Cape Cod area, I want to thank you both for running, because by doing that and participating in debates such as this, you give the voters a choice, and you give help the voters understand the issues and your position so that they can make a good choice when they go to the polls on November 3rd. Both organizations are committed to civic engagement and voter education, and you have helped that process. So thank you both for participating. I
Thank
know
you
it's
very
not
much.
always easy. We
Thank
would
you.
like to be face to face, but you've done a good job. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.